Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting of the Northeast Sahara Regional Sewer District Board of Trustees to order for February 3rd, 2022. As the secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Joyce?
Here.
Mayor Lai?
Here.
President Brown?
Here.
Mr. Sulik?
Here.
Mayor DeGeeter present. Mayor Bocci?
Present.
Ms. Dumas?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right, let's do the approval of the minutes from the January 20th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mayor Abati, second by Mr. Joyce. Question? No question. Without objection, the minutes will stand approved as they are printed. Now ask Madam CEO if anyone has signed up to speak on the public session portion of our agenda on a specific agenda topic.
They have not, Mr. President.
And we will have your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the board, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So beginning with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we have one active case among district employees. This brings us to 205 confirmed positive cases since the beginning of the pandemic, with 204 employees recovered and returned to work. We have no employees with COVID-like symptoms remaining at home because a member of their household has tested positive, and no employees with COVID-like symptoms awaiting their test results. So it's one active case at the moment. So with these, the continued decline in cases, on Monday, February 7th, we will bring back our voluntary opt-out provision from the face covering requirement for those folks who choose to show proof of full vaccination, which we have updated in our policy to include any applicable booster requirements that folks may have. So this is all available on our intranet, and we've talked to employees about this already and are putting this process into place. So on January 20th, Scott Broski, our Superintendent of Environmental Services, and John Rhodes, our Manager of Water Quality and Industrial Surveillance, spoke with the Ohio Association of Metal Finishers. So we speak annually at the Metal Finishers January meeting, and it's been a great opportunity over the years to talk to this particular subset of our industrial customers. So Scott and John were able to cover topics like our 2022 to 2026 rates with these customers, talk about changes to our code of regulations and our enforcement response plan, upcoming training opportunities, and then emerging regulations that we potentially might see from US EPA and Ohio EPA. What I wanted to highlight for you, in addition to this ongoing contact with these industrial customers, is that they also talked about the compliance status of the metal finishing folks in our service area. So we currently regulate 83 companies in this category, and we have 95% compliance with discharge regulations among this category in our service area. And this is the highest compliance percentage that we've seen, and it came in spite of the challenges of the pandemic. So it's pretty good news from this category of customers, and it was great that we were able to share that with them. And finally, as you know, 2022, we marked 50 years of the sewer district's work. So I'll turn to Jean Smith, our Senior Manager of Communications and Community Relations, to give a preview of what's to come in 2022.
Thank you, Kyle. Good afternoon, President Brown, members of the board. As Kyle mentioned, this year is our 50th anniversary, and today I wanted to cover how we'll be celebrating 50 years of people, programs, and progress. So our goals for the celebration will be to focus on the impact that we've had in the community. We'll talk about the investment that we've made in our sewer infrastructure, in our treatment plants, in our stormwater infrastructure that brought us to where we are today, and that's clean water. Whether you've been here for 3 years or 30 years, we want our employees to see themselves in our story and to really relate to how they've brought us to where we are today. And then finally, we want to recognize history and celebrate progress. We also have another milestone anniversary, and that's the 100th anniversary of our Easterly wastewater treatment plant. Obviously, it extends beyond our 50 years, but it gives us a good framework to talk about the infrastructure that was needed to get us to where we are today. And then we'll talk about Project Clean Lake and the 10 years of progress that we've seen, particularly on the east side of Cleveland. So that will be woven into our celebration. So again, we're focusing on impact, the impact that we've had in our community as it relates to water quality and clean water. Our celebration will kick off in March and will run through September, and for each month we'll have a theme and we'll have a message. Starting in March, our theme will be and our message will be sparking change. So we'll talk about the Cuyahoga River and the history of the river and how that 1969 fire brought us to where we are today. As we move into April, our message will be focused on healthier lakes and streams. Again, we'll talk about that investment in our treatment plants and our collection system. As we move through May, we kick off beach testing, so we'll focus on recreation and how our work has really elevated recreation in our community. We'll talk about, again, the Cuyahoga River improvements, and we'll focus on some of the really cool programs that we have, including industrial surveillance. As we move into June, we'll focus on protecting the lake and streams. Again, we'll focus on our work under Project Clean Lake. As we move into July, our message will focus on resilience, and we'll tap into our regional stormwater management program. Finally, in August, we'll talk about those partners that have helped make our work possible. And we'll talk about those relationships that we've developed over the past 50 years to bring us to where we are today. All of this will culminate in September with our Clean Water Fest that will return in person for the first time in 3 years, so we're pretty excited about that. For each of the months, we'll have an artistic emblem that will reflect that message. So this is an example of one of the emblems that we will design for one of those months. Again, we'll have 6 of those that will be reflective of the message. So you'll see this on a number of different promotional items. And we've already started to tease out some of the campaign. You'll see some information on our website. And we've also started to push out some of our information through our social media channels, including Twitter. In addition to that, we're asking employees to share their stories with us. We want to know how their work has impacted them, how their work has impacted the sewer district. We're continually working on the timeline. We're developing stories around the 50th, and we're also developing an event schedule to really push out this information and share this information with the community. By the end of the month, you'll see a landing page that has a number of those stories. And we'll start to promote some resources that our employees can share with the folks that they come in contact with as well. And we'll continue to ask for short stories from our employees. In addition to that, our art and our content and our production will be wrapped up by the end of the month. And with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions.
Good program.
Love the sparky.
Yeah, we like the sparking in the Cuyahoga River.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
That's our report, President Brown.
All right, thank you. No other question or comment? We'll move to our action items. Start with authorization to issue requests for proposal. That's authorization to issue an RFP in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Chapter 6119 for asbestos abatement services. Also request for authorization to issue an RFP in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Chapter 153 for design and construction administration resident project representation services for the Kingsbury Run Consolidation Sewer Project.
Move to adopt 46 and 47-22.
Motion by Mr. Joyce.
Second.
I'll take Mayor Elias' second. Question? No question. Without objection, to approve.
Resolutions 46 and 47-22.
Thank you. Let's go authorization to enter into agreement. This is a request for authorization to enter into a professional services agreement with Energy Edge Consulting, LLC, to assist the sewer district in developing short and long-term procurement strategies for electricity generation in an amount not to exceed $274,000.
Move to adopt 4822.
Motion by Mr. Sulik.
Second.
Second by Ms. Dumas. Is there a question? There's no question. Without objection, it's approved.
Resolution 48-22.
Thank you. Let's go authorization to enter into contract. Starting with request for authorization to enter into a 4-year requirement contract with Building Integrated Services, LLC, for substation preventive maintenance and repair services at all wastewater treatment plants, the Environmental and Maintenance Services Center, and the Easterly Tunnel dewatering pump stations in an amount not to exceed $1,152,112.50. Request for authorization to enter into a 3-year requirement contract with Industrial Furnace Company, Inc. for refractory inspection and repair services on the fluidized bed incinerators and refractory line ductwork at Southerly Wastewater Treatment Center's Renewable Energy Facility in an amount not to exceed $202,551.30. Request for authorization to enter into a one-year requirement contract with PVS Technologies, Inc. for delivery of ferric chloride solution to all wastewater treatment plants in an amount not to exceed $630,700. And then finally, a request for authorization to enter into a construction contract with Trimore Corporation for the Big Creek Flood Reduction near Sprague Road project in an amount not to exceed $672,900.70.
Move for adoptions of resolutions 49 through 5222.
Motion by Mayor Alari,
Second.
second by Mayor Bocci. Question? There's no question. Without objection, they're approved.
Resolutions 49 through 52-22.
Thank you. Let's go authorization to amend agreement. Several of those. Let's start with request for authorization to amend professional service agreement number 2003905 with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. for the Big Creek Stream Restoration Upstream and Downstream Ridge Road in Palmer project by extending term of agreement by approximately 41 months and by increasing the agreement amount by $914,753.03 for design, bidding, construction, administration, resident engineering, and closeout services, thereby bringing the total agreement amount not to exceed $1,546,753.03. Let's see, a request for authorization to amend project agreement number 21003624 with the Chagrin River Watershed Partners for the 9 Mile Creek Restoration Project to permit district payments to CRWP based on CRWP's approval of its consulting contract invoices and concurrence of said consulting contract invoices by the district, replacing the original agreement's requirement that payments are made solely as reimbursement for paid invoices. I'm going to skip 55, go to 56. That is going to be for a request for authorization to amend professional services agreement number 2002631 with Insight Public Sector for application hosting services for the district's 2010 SharePoint application platform by extending the term of the agreement by 1 year through February 28, 2023, and increasing the agreement amount by $99,080.52, thereby bringing the total amount not to exceed $931,916.46. What's the pleasure of the body?
Want to do 57 yet?
One more.
I'm sorry, I do have one more. All right, let's go. Request for authorization to amend design build agreement number 19005267 with Cold Harbor Building Company for the Southerly Miscellaneous Disinfection and Solids Handling Improvement Project to extend the term of the agreement by 92 calendar days with no change in the agreement amount. Now,
Move to adopt 53, 54, 56, and 57-22.
get a motion by Mr. Joyce,
Second.
second by Mayor Bocci. Question? If you could, start with 5322, extending that contract by 41 months and increasing the original contract, which was $600,000 by $914,000 and some change, and then also adding a number of scope services, so going from pre-design only to design, bidding, construction, admin, and resident engineering, how we got from there with the original proposal to determining that we should move forward with the current vendor, if you would, Stantec.
Okay, here's the project. It's a pretty involved project. Along Big Creek in Parma, there's a number of different project areas. It's, the typical stuff, stream bank stabilization, floodplain creation, and the like. Coming out of the master plan, we had planning level recommendations, but we had large project size, $12 million estimate at that point. There was a need to really drill into the details. That's why we entered into the pre-design contract, to get those details sorted out so we really understood the exact project that we'd want to take into detailed design. When we awarded the pre-design contract in 2020, we did have the stipulation that we had the option, when it came to detailed design and then ultimately construction administration, to continue on with the pre-design selected consultant or separately go out for procurement. They've done a nice job. They've gained a lot of knowledge on this. The current project size after pre-design is estimated today at about $7 million. So we've found ways to tailor this project, save a little bit of money, and we'd like to now award the design, and they will assist us through construction as well.
Okay, so bottom line is they came up with a good approach to solving the problem, realizing that in this particular area, there are a lot of issues with, I guess, the narrowness, the shallowness of the creek, the fact that all the bridge structures
Right.
kind of control the amount of flooding that occurs in it. So their approach to how to solve for these issues met your expectations.
Yes, Big Creek has a ton of impervious surface and a lot of problems. And we really needed to come out of the master planning phase and get detailed information. And through this pre-design, we've gotten that. And we really think that they've hit it, and we'd like to continue forward to execute this project.
Okay, thank you. And then just briefly, 5422, looks like we're changing our approach to how we're dealing with some of these watershed organizations. So could you maybe explain that a little bit?
Right. We partner with watershed organizations. There's an Ohio 319 grant program that provides grants for watershed-related activities, and our watershed groups have been pretty successful. Along the regional system, there's a need for a local match on these grants, and we're happy to provide it because it provides benefits to the regional stormwater system. So we enter into project agreements with these entities. Previously, once the award was made, the process was whoever received it could be any watershed group, had to pay the invoices. That partner entity had to pay the invoices, and then we would reimburse. We looked at that, and it causes some problems at times. So we're going to amend this so that the partner agency reviews and provides, approval of their invoices. We need to take a look at them, and then we will pay directly to the contractor. And at the end of the day, the project entity has to provide proof of payment within 30 days. So it's a little smoother process for those groups.
Very good, thank you. All right. If there are no other questions, then without exception, those are approved, those resolutions.
Resolutions 53, 54, 56, and 57-22.
Thank you. Let's go 5522. This is authorization to amend project agreement number 21002145 with the Donebrook Watershed Partnership for Donebrook Sewage Park Restoration Project to permit technical to DBWP based on DBWP's approval of its consultant contractor invoices and concurrence of said consultant contractor invoices by the district, replacing the original agreement's requirement that payments are made solely as reimbursements for paid invoices.
Move to adopt 5522.
Motion by Mr. Sulik.
Second.
Second by Ms. Dumas. Is there a question? If there's no question, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Merrill, aye.
Yes.
President Brown.
Abstain.
Mr. Sulik.
Yes.
Mayor DeGeeter, yes. Mayor Bocci.
Yes.
Ms. Dumas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Hello.
Oh. Still passes. Mr. Choice.
Yes.
You were bold. I started with you, then I got going down.
Okay. He was just checking on
Dead
you.
end and you just get lost again.
He's just checking on you. All right, let's go. Authorization to assign contract This is to authorize the district to assign contract number 200061143 with Jordan Industrial LLC for industrial cleaning services at all wastewater treatment plants, and contract number 21003490 with Jordan Industrial LLC for closed-circuit television inspection services to Razor Lake Materials, Inc., with all current terms and conditions of the agreements to remain unchanged under the assignments.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Joyce.
Second.
I'll take Mr. Sulik as a second. Question? There's no question. Without objection, it's approved.
Resolution 58-22.
Thank you. Let's go property-related transactions. This is a request for authorization to appropriate one permanent sewer easement at property known as permanent parcel number 10504-021, 10504-022, 10504-023, 10504-024, 10504-025, 10504-026, 10504-027, located at 5444 and 5456 Lake Court, City of Cleveland, owned by the Davis Sewage Company, also known as Davis Sewage Company, necessary for the construction and maintenance of Shoreline Consolidation Sewer Project, and to deposit the compensation of $5,300 with the Cuyahoga County Probate Court.
Move to adopt 5922.
Motion by Mr. Sulik.
Second.
Second by Mayor Bocci. Question?
Just curious, I can see that company's name and I can see Lake Court, but I can't picture where is that in the city?
Does
Anybody?
Devonna, do you know?
Lake Court?
Lake Court, yeah.
Is off of 55th, right before you get to the Shoreway
Oh.
entrance on the left there.
Oh, that makes sense why I know that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, President Brown. I apologize, Mr. Joyce.
I can see that company and I just, yep, thanks.
My brother's shop is right around the corner.
Isn't that where building trades, they,
That's what I'm saying.
like,
All right.
raised the trigger, yeah.
No other question? Then without objection, it's approved.
Resolution 59-22.
Thank you. Let's go sewer use code matters. Let's go authorization to adopt the findings of the hearing officer with regard to sewer count of Fantasia, Faison, sewer district hearing number 21-014, that the customer's request be denied.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Joyce,
Second.
second by Mayor Bocci. Question? Question without objection, it's approved.
Resolution 60-22.
Thank you very much. That does complete our action items for today. Thank you. Let's go to information items. We have Operation and Maintenance Quarterly Board Update.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board.
Good afternoon.
This is the operation and maintenance update for the fourth quarter of 2021. We'll talk about safety, effluent quality, maintenance, budget performance, and then we have a short but very interesting presentation from Tom Maidage, Deputy Director in O&M, on operation and maintenance of tunnel flow control structures. When we look at lost and restricted work days for the year, we had a total of 266 lost or restricted days. This is much better than we've seen over the last several years. I think it's due, at least in part, to the focus that we've had on safety within O&M after we had a pretty rough year in 2019. We had 5 events that led to those lost and restricted work days. 2 of those were strains. One was a burn, one was a cut, and one was a slip and fall. This table shows a little bit more detail about each of those events that led to a lost or restricted time incident. The one thing that always stands out to me when looking at these is we have one incident here in the middle, an incident at Westerly that accounted for more than half of the days off. So 5 incidents overall. One of those led to about 70% of the days off in O&M, more than half of the days off or restricted for the district. Looking at the DART rate, which is the number of incidents per 100 full-time employees that result in lost or restricted workdays, we had a rate of 1.02 for 2021, which is below our target of 2.0. Are there any questions on safety before I move on to effluent quality? Okay.
Question? No. Continue.
Thank you. Looking at effluent suspended solids at all three of our plants, we are below limits for each month during the fourth quarter at all three plants. We had similar results for carbonaceous biochemical oxygen demand, again, below the limits at all three plants for the entire quarter, as we did with phosphorus. The E. coli densities for October were also below our NPDES permit limits. I'm only showing October because we only monitor E. coli and we only disinfect our effluents from May through October by permit. So we end that on Halloween at midnight, and then we'll start up again on May 1st. At the end of the year, I'd like to provide a brief overview of an operational summary when we look at our plant effluent. So for 2021, we treated a total of about 77 billion with a B gallons of wastewater at our three treatment plants. This was down from 2021 by approximately 10 billion gallons. That's based completely on flow coming into the plants and weather. We removed about 85 million pounds of total suspended solids, 34 million pounds of CBOD, and about 1.3 million pounds of phosphorus. One thing that I want to point out is that our effluents are monitored 24/7. We have to meet permit limits 365 days a year. Throughout the course of the year, in our three plants, there are approximately 5,000 compliance points. These are points in time where our effluent is compared to some standard in our effluent permit limits. I'm very pleased to say that for 2021, we had 0 permit excursions at all of our plants.
That's great.
And, you know, I want to make sure that myself and our staff does not take this for granted, because it's quite an accomplishment. And it's not easy, and, you know, we do a really good job year in and year out of coming close to not having any permit issues. In 2021, we had 0. So for the year, we're anticipating that we will receive peak performance awards from NACWA, gold awards at both Easterly and Westerly, and a platinum at Southerly. Platinum is awarded when a plant has 0 permit excursions for 5 consecutive years. So that's really quite an accomplishment. And I just want to say that you know, we have good facilities. We have excellent support from the board, from our leadership team here at the district, from other district departments. But we also have a lot of really good, hardworking people in the O&M department who come here every day and do their best and take their work seriously. And I'm really proud of that group in O&M. Just wanted to point that out.
It's a job well done, and a credit to the men and women in the organization in dealing with you know, all of these environmental challenges. We're always subject to, you know, the weather. So, you know, if it's storming or not, or, you know, we have heat and other things. We have large snow, melt, et cetera. And then you got this large combined system that, depending on what's happening outside, you know, flows go up and down. So again, just the ability over some period of time just to manage this at a high level is a cardinal accomplishment. So I want to add our congratulations on behalf of the board for the job well done.
Thank you. Moving on to maintenance and looking at dry weather overflows. During 2021, we had a total of 9 dry weather overflows. That compares to 11 the year before. Most of these were caused by some kind of blockage within the system, as shown on this chart. And then looking back, going back to 2009, when we look at the number of dry weather overflows that we've had, 9 is the lowest that we've seen in tracking back to 2009. And for the last 4 years or so, we've been very low. So this is, I think attributable to both the improvements that the district has made in the collection system and also the maintenance efforts of our staff. Our automated collection system equipment performed very well in wet weather, with the exception of one event in April. Our wet weather equipment, automated equipment, was available 100% of the time throughout the year. Are there any questions on the maintenance?
Just if you could, because I'm sure that that the peaks coming down from the levels they are to 1 or 2 a year also have a lot to do with the long-term control program
Yes.
that we're going through, and just seems as though our targets seem to be 1 to 3 a year at the end of the program. So it seems like we're well on the way to accomplishing those goals.
Yeah, so these are, what I'm showing here is dry weather overflows.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
So the 1 to 3 per year is wet during wet weather.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last section that I have is on budget performance. So for the year, for the 10 O&M budget centers, we had a total operating budget of about $62 million. Through this week, we booked expenses of about $56.6 million. When we look at our spending for 2021, it's almost exactly in line with, 2022 is almost exactly in line with 2021. Okay. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take those. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Tom.
That's pretty good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Brown, members of the board. I'm Tom Adich, Deputy Director of Operation and Maintenance. And what I wanted to go through today is operation and maintenance of our tunnel flow control structures. So looking at the major capital improvement projects, if you go back 10 years plus, and in some cases with Mill Creek 15-year plus, our engineering department has designed, constructed, and in some cases turned over projects to O&M. So what I'm going to focus on this afternoon is talk about some of the maintenance associated with the tunnels on the east side, so Dugway Storage Tunnel, Euclid Creek Tunnel, and also Dome Valley Tunnel. Each tunnel, dewatering, and pump station I'll touch upon, but the focus of the presentation is the maintenance associated with those tunnels specifically. One of the benefits with Project Clean Lake and the tunnels associated with Dugway and Euclid Creek Tunnel was elimination of regulators. President Brown mentioned about regulators indirectly about 1 to 2, 1 to 3 overflows per year. Frank clarified that with dry weather overflows. These regulators touch both things. So these regulators provide a relief point during wet weather events, rain events, and it will discharge to a waterway, Lake Erie, a creek, or river. Project Clean Lake eliminated that discharge. So now, as opposed to discharging to a waterway, it goes to a tunnel. Has a big benefit to the district, big benefit to the environment. Also benefit to O&M is less assets to maintain. But not so soon. Project Clean Lake added an additional 197 assets. So we did get more assets out of Project Clean Lake to help the projects out. And to go through the different assets, Dugway Storage, there's 22. Dome Valley, there's 25. Euclid Creek Tunnel, 19. And there were some ancillary projects that was 31. Consolidated Sewage and other projects, they added another 130 projects, or 130 assets to it. This doesn't include tunnel dewatering pump station, because that's a whole different presentation. So this is strictly the tunnels. Okay, one of the assets that we received from the tunnels is these flow control structures. The flow constructors provide 3 benefits. It's an entry point into the tunnel. It controls the flow into the tunnel, and also it cleans debris from the water that's going into the tunnel. So what I wanted to go through is just kind of step through how the flow gets into the tunnel, and then we'll talk about some of the maintenance associated with this. So if you look on the left-hand part of the screen, you got combined sewage coming in, and again, this is from Consolidated Sewer that in the past would have gone to the environment. So it's coming through this primary bar rack, dropping down to this grit sump area, going through the wedge wire, and then eventually into the tunnel. So the primary bar rack is basically a spacing of 4 inches, and it's going to get the bigger debris that floats, woody debris, things of that nature. As the flow drops down into the wedge wire area, it's a smaller spacing, and it's going to get the smaller debris that's going to not go into the tunnel. And if the flows get high enough up when the wedge wire is being blocked off, we have this floatable bar rack up on top that's also going to capture the bigger debris, the floatable debris, leaves, wood, etc. This one also has a gate. We have these gates at 8 locations. There's a total of 9 of these diversion structures, but that controls the flow into the tunnel. So if the flow gets high enough in the tunnel, the gate shuts off and we stop the flow from the tunnel. So it is a controlled structure. Looking at the right, it's the same, just a 3D view. Flow's coming from the left. It goes through the bar rack, the item that's slanted down, drops down into the wedge wire area, and then out to the tunnel. Okay. So this was something that we had talked about at length about putting these, we call them near surface structures, or having a bar rake in the tunnel dewatering pump station. And from economic analysis, it was shown that this was a better alternative. Okay, so looking at the maintenance associated with this. Looking at the left one, is the primary bar rack, and again, there's a spacing about 4 inches between those bars. One of our staff is basically raking off all the debris off the rake. And if you look to the left, there's a vac. We have a jet vac up on top, which I'll get to, but that's sucking the debris out from that area. Looking to the right, a little different area. So if you look at the bottom, that's the wedge wire, which I mentioned, and above that's the floatable bar rack. And what we do in that case is we're basically water blasting off that area and get the debris out. And it depends on what's going on with how much debris is going to be in there. Either at that moment or in the future, we'll pull that debris out. So there's a decision made by the staff there and also the supervisor about, do you pull debris out, let it settle down, or take it out in a future maintenance event. And then he's actually standing in the grit sump. He's actually standing in water, kind of cleaning out that area. So it's very labor intensive and it's very maintenance intensive as far as cleaning that out. To give you a perspective of how big some of these are, this is our Euclid Creek number 2 site. So typically they're 30 to 50 feet deep. If you look on the left, there is the wedge wire at the bottom, the floatable bar rack up on top, and then some debris that we had to clean out after the fact. So the whole point of this picture is kind of give a perspective of how big the structures are. So up on top, we have equipment that's up on top that's going to clean out and help out clean out those bar racks. So to the left, we have our jet vac, and then we have this black hose that goes down. So basically, we have a back hose at that point. Also on here, we have the hose that's going to be a high pressure to be able to water blast those bar racks. In the background there, we have a crane truck and an operator who's actually dropping a person down through a man cage into the structure. So in some cases, we have to drop them down, and in some cases, they can go down the rungs to get down to the structure to do maintenance. So that kind of gives you an idea of the setup of the equipment that we have up on the surface level. Let's look at some data. So we went back starting in 2020 and looked at how much debris we're removing from the bar racks. So if you look on 2020, with Euclid Creek Tunnel, it's about 63,000 pounds. And then on Dugway Storage Tunnel, about 79,000. And if you look at 2021, about 77,000 and 115,000 for Dugway Storage. So it's about 330,000 pounds of debris we pulled off those bar racks, which could have gone to the environment, which would have been potentially, settled out in the sewer. But nonetheless, we pulled them off either the bar racks or the grit sump area. Looking at the tunnel dewatering pump station, this is operated by our easterly plant, not the maintenance, the collection system maintenance group. If you go back 2018, we pumped from the tunnel about 156 million gallons. 2019, 172. And then 2020, 616, and then 434 in 21. In 2020, Dugway Storage Tunnel came online. Prior to that, Euclid Creek Tunnel was online. So as the years were going on, more assets were coming online. So 2020, Dugway Storage came online. 2021, Dome Valley Tunnel came online. 2020 was a wet year. That kind of correlated what Frank was saying with the data. So as more assets are coming online, more is being pumped. So it's about 1.4 billion we pumped from the tunnel over that time period, which would have gone to the environment under the old regime, under this old system. So big benefit to the district and the environment in the local area.
So getting some level of treatment before it's
Absolutely,
discharged
yes.
as opposed to
And
going
that goes
directly?
back to the 1 to 3 to 4 overflows a year. That's correct. This kind of gives you a perspective of the leave-behinds that we have at one of our sites. So if you look at the left, and they're both for Dugway Storage 8 site, kind of gives you a ground view. There's a pathway, kind of a park view. We have benches, trees, some amenities that we put to make the site better. Looking to the right kind of gives a little different perspective about how big the size of the site is. So we got some trucks and some cars in here to kind of give you a perspective. It's a pretty big site. But it's a really nice site for the folks to kind of walk through, sit down, relax. We have this walkway there. All right, so who's doing all this work? The way it's set up, we have our maintenance services department and then our sewer system maintenance and operation department. So we call it SSMO. But Kevin Zabrowski is our superintendent of maintenance services. He's also the operator of record for the collection system. So he has reporting responsibilities to the EPA. Karen Solko is the assistant superintendent for maintenance services. And then underneath maintenance services, SSMO is one of the departments. Also, you got building maintenance, fleet services, and admin services. So Kevin has a suite of departments underneath him that he's responsible for. But specifically for SSMO, Eric Tankel's the manager, and there's 5 supervisors underneath Eric, Joshua Dress, Greg Mitchell, Dave Glissick, Brian Stapleton, and Stacy Juby. So they're responsible for the day in and day out maintenance and operation of our collection system. Also within that group, there's 42 maintenance hourly staff that's responsible for that work. And what I showed is just a snippet of what they do on a daily basis. And it's, to kind of echo what Frank says, it's a great bunch of guys. They do great work. They're in the streets all the time. They're doing work today in the snow. They're making sure that flow is going where it's supposed to go. Now, a special shout out I want to give to Lou Zigman. Lou put this presentation together for me in conjunction with Greg and Josh. So they did a great job putting it together. We cut and pasted and had a little gyrations back and forth, but Lou did a great job putting this together, and I'm giving a special thanks for helping me out with this. So, with that, I'll take any questions.
No questions, good report.
President Brown, if I may. I mentioned that Southerly is anticipating receiving a platinum award for 5 years without any permit compliance issues. I'd like to introduce our other Deputy Director in Operation Maintenance, Tracy Phelps, who's in the audience, who's in charge of Southerly.
Great job, thank you. That it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. That completes our information items. Let's see. Open session, anything for the good of the order? No? Madam CEO, public session, anyone signed up to speak on any subject matter?
They have not, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have nothing for executive session today?
No, sir, we do not, Mr. President.
Okay, then I will now entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
Motion to adjourn by Mayor Batti, second by Ms. Dumas. Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming out through this trying, challenging day and getting the business of the district done.